Okay, a quick little reminder on how to do a multi-view drawing. I've got one already drawn here so that you can see what the outcome is supposed to be. But this is what we were going to do in class, is I asked you to take 6 linking cubes and create a shape that couldn't just lay completely flat where all 6 cubes, or 5, were laying on the table at the same time. And so here's my shape. I also didn't want you to go more than 3 blocks in any direction, and so I made a shape. The first thing that I need to do is I need to consider the best front view. So I'm going to consider different perspectives in which I can look at, and even though I'm looking at a face, I can rotate and spin it, and so I had to land somewhere at a best front view, and I guess it looks like I decided I did this. I chose this. One thing is I can see 5 different squares as opposed to, say, this one where I can only see 3. To me, the more I can see, it's a more descriptive side. Okay, and there's some other ones where I can see 5. I can see 5 here as well. But then I also would stop and consider, if I pick this face to be 5, I would consider different orientations of it, so I can spin it like a clock. And you can see this is the one I landed on. Not to go too into it, but I'll just say I stop and consider, what is the right view going to be? What is the top view going to be? And then what is that isometric? If I turn it a little to the right and tilt the top towards me, and kind of slide it over, there's my front top right isometric. And I just make sure that I like all of them, because it's possible that if I change the orientation and consider the right with that as the front orientation, the top, and the ISO, that maybe I find one I like better. Okay, so this is the one I landed on. So what do I do? If this is my best front view, the one I like, okay, then I'm going to draw this. First I work on the silhouette, okay, the profile. I got to angle a little bit for the camera, or maybe if I scoot my paper. There we go. I might be able to. Okay. Do this. I'm going to try to recenter. Okay. So the main silhouette you can see is 3 blocks up, 1 over, 1 down, 1 right. I'm just trying to get that silhouette. And so this is what I would have drawn. Okay. After getting the shape, then I go back and look for, okay, any lines that need to be included. And I talked about the finger test, like running your finger across the surface. If the surface is smooth, okay, like these 3 are, then I'm not going to put any object lines in there because that's all one smooth surface. So you can see in here I've got one smooth surface. But my finger, this was not smooth to go from yellow to blue, and there's this edge that is visible. I can see it, and so I wanted to capture this edge in my drawing. And so we call this line right here an object line. It's a visible line. It is solid to show that it's a visible feature. And the same thing from going from green to blue. That's my finger's kind of falling off the cliff, or maybe running into a wall if it were down here. And so I have another visible line, an object line. It's solid. Okay. The areas that are smooth, I would consider the need for hidden lines underneath. Okay. And actually I've left off a hidden line here so we can add something. So while all this is smooth, between yellow and orange, I consider like what's happening behind the scenes. Well, same thing. They're both 1 block deep. What about underneath the surface here between orange and green? Well, if we tilt it so you can see, under orange it's 1 block deep, under green it's 2. So there's something happening between orange and green. So that's a hidden feature that I can't see when I'm looking straight on, but we're going to acknowledge it with a dashed line. And a dashed line is a hidden line to let us know that under the surface there's something different under here than here. Okay? I would repeat the same thing then with this. This is a smooth surface, but under the surface, is there anything different? And there's not. They're both just 1 block. Okay? So there's my front view. Now, very important to understand how to get the top view. First, the top view has to be straight up. It has to fall within the same 2 vertical lines. The left edges need to be aligned, and the right edges need to be aligned. Okay, so it shouldn't be shifted over here, over here. The top view shouldn't be down here. Okay, it has to be straight up as the top view. Now, the orientation needs to also be such that the only movement I did from when I'm looking at the front to the top is just pull the top towards me. kind of having it fall forward, if you will. So here's my pencil's on the top. I'm going to rotate it towards me, and now this only slides. It's not going to twist, rotate, spin, nothing like that, and go straight up. Okay, now you can see that I have basically this L shape that should be drawn. Okay, there's the L shape. That's the view. Okay, so let's try that again. From the front face, grab the top, pull it towards you, slide straight up. That is the view we need to capture. After you capture that L shape, then we need to stop and consider object lines, and lastly hidden lines. Well, there's only object lines here because they take up all the little lines for the cubes, and so that's, from here to here, my finger's fallen off a cliff. There's an edge that's visible or running into a wall, so I have an object line here. Same thing from green to orange. Okay, there's an edge here that is visible, so an object or visible line. Okay, I'm going to reset my view now to the front. I always reset to the front before I add a view. Let's go to the right. Well, to add the right view, kind of like the top, they need to be aligned. So the top edges are going to line up, the bottom edges are going to line up. All right, now the right side is here. This is my right hand. This is the right side. So to figure out what that picture is supposed to be, I'm going to grab the right side, I'm going to pull it around so I can see this face. Now I'm looking at the right side, and I'm going to shift it or slide it straight over. And that's the profile. The silhouette is just like this one, except that block is now going to be on the right. Okay, so there you go. I drew the silhouette first. Then you stop and consider object lines. I've got one that got drawn right here. That's because from this smooth surface to this smooth surface, my finger's kind of falling off a cliff or running into a wall. So this right here, this edge is a visible feature that I can see. So a solid line is an object line. It's something visible. Under the surface, I would consider under these three that's smooth. Is there anything unique that would be a hidden feature? And it's not. They're the same, one block deep. No hidden features back there. Okay. How about under this surface? Well, if I tilt a little so you can see under the surface, yes. Under yellow is one block deep. Under orange is two. So between yellow and orange, we're going to add that dashed line. Okay. And that completed our right view. So we have a front, a top view, and a right view. This is your common multi-view having three orthographics, a front, a top, and a right. Remember, these are called orthographics. They're straight on views where we can only see two dimensions. Let's point out that real quick. On the front view, what can you guys see? You can see height, and you can see width. Okay. Depth is how far it is from the front to the back. When we rotate this, all right, we can still see height, but watch where the front face went. The front face became this edge right here. That edge is actually the front face. And this edge is the back face. So when I'm looking at it, I can now see the dimension of depth. D for depth. Okay? Go back to the front. Now in the top view, watch how I rotate it again. Okay, I can still see the left side here and the right side here. I can still see width. So that's why they fit between the same vertical lines, is because I'm sharing width between those views. But watch the front face. As I rotate to show the top, the front face kind of disappears into a line. So this is the front face, that line. And this line back here, okay, that was the back. So if this is the front, the back's back here. The back is now this line. And so the other dimension I can see here is how far it is from front to back, which is depth. Okay, really important for you to understand which two dimensions you can see in each of these orthographics. Okay, so width and height in front, height and depth in the right, and the top we can see width and depth. Notice these two are sharing. Okay, the depth here and the depth here are the same. All right, lastly, the isometric. You got to get the correct ISO. How did I get that orientation? Well, because it is positioned up and right. So this ISO, relative to the front, based on where the front is, how did we get here? On the paper, physically, we kind of slid our pencil a little up and a little right. So we went up and right. From the front view, which angle you follow determines which isometric you should give. Okay, since I went to the right of the front and up, this ISO should be a front, top, right isometric. Okay, again, it's because I went to the right and I went up. What's up? The top, not the bottom. What's to the right? The right, not the left side. Okay, so how do I do that so I can see it? Well, I don't want to rotate this all the way to the right because I don't want an orthographic view on an isometric. So I start at the front and I bring the right side about 45 degrees, kind of half turn towards me. And then I grab the top and bring the top towards me, again about 45 degrees. And now I can see a corner. I can see that letter Y that we're used to seeing when we talk about isometrics, kind of where a corner is. The ISOs, kind of that magical letter that you can start, is with a Y to start showing kind of width and height and depth. Okay, and so now I'm looking at it and I'm holding it pretty much exactly as I'm going to draw it. Okay, right there, that's the view. And so that view is my front, top, right that I recreate over here. And I usually pick a corner to start to draw with, or maybe the top, that Y, and then kind of tack on those two sides to complete the top, and then I start working my way down. Okay, so that gives you a little information on how to create a multi-view drawing, how to align the right to the front, to the right side, how to align the top above the front view, and how to figure out how to reorientate your piece to get the matching isometric. Good luck on yours.